In the top stories, national diplomat donates to primary school. Haitian vigilantes taking on criminal gangs, and fighting escalates after Sudan ceasefire expires. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, the 5th of June 2023. I'm Jason Davis. First up, we have a late-breaking story. Police are investigating a shooting incident at Dorset on Monday morning. Officers are still on the scene, so details are unclear. However, reports indicate that this may be a homicide investigation. We'll have more information as it becomes available. Counselor and interim representative of St. Kitts and Nevis to the Organization of American States, Sonia Body Thompson, presented a check of $1,000 to her alma mater, the Edgar T. Morris Primary School, in her hometown village of Tabernacle on Thursday. According to a press release issued on Monday, the check, which was presented as a token of, quote, love, appreciation, commitment, and dedication to what the school is doing, end quote, was presented to Principal Dale Phipps in front of the entire student body. An ardent supporter of the school, Mrs. Body Thompson, also donated more than $1,000 worth of kitchen appliances to the school in 2021. Prior to making the surprise donation, Mrs. Body Thompson said, quote, I continue to monitor and observe what is being done here at the Edgar T. Morris Primary School, and I remain pleased with the tremendous work that the principal and the staff continue to do here. They're using creative ways to enhance the learning environment and to stimulate the development of our children, end quote. The principal, Mr. Dale Phipps, thanked Mrs. Body Thompson for her generosity, stating, quote, we say thank you very much, Mrs. Body. We know that you are ever with us. We are indeed grateful for this gesture. Thank you very much for all you have done for the school over the years, and we even thank you for what you will do in the future, end quote. And we have more information regarding the shooting investigation from the police. The police public relations officer has stated that the police can confirm that there has been a shooting in which 2 persons are deceased. The incident took place on Rectory Road in the Greenlands area. Law enforcement is on the scene and preliminary investigations are in progress. An official update will be issued as soon as the requisite information becomes available. Moving ahead in other national news, the St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited is advising the public of scheduled maintenance outages for the week the 5th to the 9th of June. The scheduled maintenance outages are necessary to perform maintenance as a part of their ongoing efforts to improve reliability. On Tuesday, the 6th of June, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the areas affected are Timber Lane, Main Street, Mission Street, and Johnson Road, Tabernacle. On Wednesday, the 7th of June, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the areas affected will be Cabbage Tree Housing Project, Keon Village, Lower Monkey Hill, and St. Peter's Place. On Thursday, the 8th of June, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Imperial Bay Resort, Barracuda Terrace, Parrotfish Lane, Marlin Lane, Wahoo Terrace, Oyster Lane, Saltfish Crescent, Half Moon Drive, Fairway Rise, and Old Bay Way will be the areas affected. And finally, on Friday, the 9th of June, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the TVC Gardens Housing Project will be affected. In other news, products from Llewellyn's Manufacturing Company, a family-owned manufacturing and service business in Zetland's Gingerland, Nevis, were on display at Agroalimentaria 2023, a 3-day trade show at the Dominican Fiesta Hotel and Convention Center in the Dominican Republic from May 31 to June 3. The business, which is owned and operated by Llewellyn Clark and his wife Violet, is one of 10 businesses partly funded by CARICOM to attend the event's 8th edition through the Caribbean Export Development Agency, a regional trade and investment promotion organization of the Forum of Caribbean States, CARIFORM. The objectives of the exposition are to enable business collaborations and partnerships while fostering business-to-business engagements within the agricultural sector, and to promote a deeper business rapport between Cariform firms and international buyers and distributors. Mr. Clark represented the couple's business at the event. Mrs. Clark noted that they accepted the invitation because it offered an opportunity to expand their business worldwide. However, Mrs. Clark said small businesses need greater assistance to deal with hurdles which hinder their ability to comply with relevant international standards, including quality registration, certification, and technical standards. The event was hosted by the Dominican Agro-Industry Board and the Dominican Trade and Investment Promotion Office Pro Dominicana. Moving now to news on the regional scene. With gang violence plaguing the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince, recent weeks have seen the rise of a group of vigilantes taking the law into their own hands using machetes and other makeshift weapons. However, the UN warns them vigilantism will only fuel a rise in the spiral of violence in the country. More in this report.
Wakale is the name of a vigilante movement that began in late April in the Haitian capital Port-au-Prince. Its members use machetes, rocks and other makeshift weapons to target gangs. One of the members says they can no longer wait for police help or international assistance.
It's not Canada, the United States or others who will come to get us out of our situation. A machete will.
Neighborhoods involved in the movement have set up makeshift barricades, threatening people who attempt to enter. This as gang violence has overwhelmed security forces. A UN report in May said there were 1,634 cases of people killed, injured or kidnapped in the Haitian capital in the first 3 months of this year, a 28% increase on the last quarter of last year. The UN Special Envoy for Haiti says violence has reached extreme levels.
Haiti's National Police Force, despite all their efforts and all the cooperation when it comes to equipment, training and input from the international community, is not at this moment able to defend people. And so people are defending themselves.
Haiti's Center for Analysis and Research in Human Rights found that Wakale had led to a drop in kidnappings and killings in recent weeks, but warned it could worsen gang violence. One human rights lawyer blames what he called the government's incompetence and laxity for the rise of Wakale.
Le phénomène Wakale est une sorte de justice expéditive. Je me donne justice.
The Wakale phenomenon signals that people are getting their own justice. But why is the population doing that? Why? Because they've realized that the Justice Minister and Prime Minister, Ariel Henry, have no power.
The lawyer expressed concern that innocent civilians could be swept up in vigilante killings that police are unable to stop.
The International Monetary Fund wants Antigua and Barbuda's labor market policies to emphasize training, vocational education, and job search assistance. These are among points raised by the IMF's Executive Board in its latest Article 4 consultation with Antigua and Barbuda. ABS's Garfield Burford reports.
The International Monetary Fund says Antigua and Barbuda's economy is recovering but facing headwinds from multiple external shocks. Among those are the risks of further commodity price shocks, a global growth slowdown, a resurgence of COVID, and tighter global financial conditions. So the IMF's Executive Board has suggestions on how to support the recovery of the economy and make growth more sustainable. Two of those are improving access to credit and strengthening the workings of the labor market. In relation to credit, the IMF says it will be important to increase the role of the Regional Credit Bureau and Partial Credit Guarantee Scheme in enhancing credit quality, accelerating the lending process, and alleviating collateral constraints of borrowers. It also wants the country's insolvency law to be modernized to help incentivize lending. And in relation to the labor market, it is urging the authorities in St. John's to emphasize training, vocational education, and skills certification, together with job search assistance to reintegrate workers into the labor force. UFI Violence Principal Professor Denzil Williams, an economist, says this is where the university can play a major role.
what the Ministry of Labour and the Ministry of Social Security and all those other agencies responsible for the human capital development will now have to do is to say, how are we going to get our human capital at a competitive level so that they can reap the benefits of the private and public investments that are going to take place in order to rebound the economy back to pre-pandemic level. That is going to be a critical element that needs to happen. Again, I will go back to where my specialty is. The University of the West Indies is a key partner in that process to help to upskill the population so that the locals can benefit from economic transformation that is happening now.
It's a push Professor Williams' successor in the role will be required to continue as the economist transitions to head the Mona campus in Jamaica. The Five Islands campus is set for a major expansion to be bankrolled by a loan of $80 million from the Saudi Fund for Development. The IMF's suggestions also come as the new-look Harrison Center Abyss is set for completion shortly. Meanwhile, in relation to the fiscal accounts, the IMF wants the authorities to, quote, maintain efforts to extend the maturity profile of their debt in the domestic and external markets in order to reduce rollover risks. There should also be engagement with creditors to put in place feasible strategies for clearing remaining arrears, and new arrears should be avoided, end quote. The report acknowledged that the country's debt as a percentage of its economic output is on a downward trajectory after having reached 102% in the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Internationally, fighting intensified in several areas of Khartoum on Sunday after a ceasefire deal expired, residents of Sudan's capital reported, and activists said a new outburst of violence in North Darfur state had left at least 40 people dead. More in this France 24 report.
Gunshots and smoke in the Sudanese capital. A sign fighting has returned following the expiry of a ceasefire deal earlier this weekend.
Here, since the early morning, we have heard loud sounds of heavy artillery coming from Wadi Sayidna Air Base, which is located not far from where I am, about 10 to 15 maybe kilometers from my location. Right now, also, as I am talking to you, there are heavy clashes in Khartoum capital, especially in Khartoum central areas and in western Khartoum.
The ceasefire between the army and the RSF paramilitary force was initially agreed around 2 weeks ago and already extended once. Though there was some decrease in the intensity of the fighting, it was repeatedly violated. The truce allowed limited humanitarian access, but with 3/4 of hospitals in combat zones not functioning, the situation is dire. And it's been made even more complicated with the arrival of the rainy season. As the ceasefire expired this weekend, there were also reports of deadly violence in the northern part of Darfur, which has witnessed some of the worst battles since fighting began in mid-April. Tens of thousands of people have fled Darfur over the past weeks, crossing the border into neighboring Chad.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy skies with haze. The temperature for today is 32 degrees Celsius or 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are a gentle breeze of 10 miles per hour from the east. Seas are moderate with waves of 3 to 4 feet. And the weather forecast in St. Kitts and Nevis today will be mostly sunny and hazy with a 10% or slight chance of passing showers. Tonight will be fair and hazy with a 10% or slight chance of passing showers. Sunset today will be at 6:43 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:36 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.